I'm going to give it a 9.
9 on fun factor. I was thinking the same thing. I think it deserves that 9.
By the way, I'm thinking about doing a parody. You guys remember that parody I made of Second Thoughts last year? Where I made a video in his style pretending to be him, but I pretty much make fun. I'm thinking about doing another parody where I bring up the fact that he has another channel where he drives fast cars. Want to check out this video right here? Is the McLaren 570S, the best car we've ever driven. This is from a channel called Grand Test Auto. As you can see, has almost 13,000 subscribers. This video has 10,000 views. You might be wondering, Kirk, I thought you were a political, cultural commentary satire channel. Why are you looking at cars? Just wait for it.
Excuse us, don't mind us, just coming through.
Just coming through in a $160,000 car. It's more expensive than most houses are.
$160,000. Did you guys hear that?
Just don't mind us, just coming through.
Just coming through in a $160,000.
Maybe I should slow it down. Maybe it's too fast. Too fast.
Excuse us, don't mind us, just coming through.
Just coming through in a $160,000 car. It's more expensive than most houses are.
They're driving a $160,000 car that I guess is more expensive than some houses, which I think that's the case in a lot of cases.
It's wild.
What a car. Wouldn't you guys love to have one of those? But I mean, that's kind of like a top 1% car. Like, if you're in the top 1%, you might be able to afford this car. If you make well above 6 figures annually, you might be able to afford this car.
All right.
Beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's the car saying?
Car is lower.
You guys see that guy on the left in the Hawaiian shirt? Does guy sound familiar at all?
Suspension.
Nice. If you can't tell by the fancy lowering suspension automatically and the loud noises coming from behind us, we are in a very fast and expensive car today.
They are in a very fast and expensive car. Does this voice ring a bell with anyone yet? Tizzy says, commies and cars. Yeah. Yeah, where have we heard this voice before? Is this our good friend Second Thought? Who has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, often makes a bunch of commie propaganda.
Air supplies to grow food, find a way to collect water, and so on. The problem is, there's no way for the average American to accumulate that kind of money. The vast majority of capital is concentrated at the very top, and it's only getting worse. In 2019...
Oh no, you guys! Under this radical, hyper free market capitalism, all the wealth is getting accumulated by a tiny portion of people.
The richest person on the Forbes Top 400 list was 21 times wealthier than the richest person on the list in 1982, adjusted for inflation. That money isn't just coming out of thin air.
Oh no, look, the top 1% of Americans have taken $50 trillion from the bottom 90%.
It's being siphoned from the rest of the population. That money also is not going back into the economy. It's
not going back into the economy.
Being hoarded and used to buy
being hoarded?
Legislation favorable to giant corporations. Meanwhile, real wages have gone down.
Real wages have gone down.
Unions have been all but eradicated, preventing collective bargaining for better treatment, and most people can't cover a surprise $400 expense.
People can't afford a $400 emergency.
You don't even have the freedom to disengage from the capitalist system. This system, and by extension your life, is owned by the ultra-wealthy.
Owned by the ultra-wealthy.
This is the logical conclusion of capitalism, and decades of consolidation of wealth and power in the hands of an increasingly small number of oligarchs. Capitalism cannot solve these problems because it doesn't recognize them as problems. The system is designed to allow for maximum...
And so people can't afford rent, people can't afford health care. Meanwhile, he's driving around $160,000 cars. But maybe at some point in this video, maybe he'll like act with disgust. This is Second Thought.
We are in a McLaren 570S.
Very, very excited. I have never been in a McLaren.
Neither have I. This is my first time I've ever even set foot in a McLaren. It's the first time I've ever sat down in one, or been in one, or touched one.
Maybe he'll talk with disgust being in this car, especially when you consider this guy often talks about climate change. Often talks about how horrible climate change is and how capitalism cannot deal with it. Often often shrieking about all these CO2 emissions that are being pumped into the air. And now he has a YouTube channel where he gets to drive around in fun, fancy, expensive-ass cars. You'll see. Let's speed this up. You would think, I would expect this guy to act with disgust, like, oh my God, this car, this fucking car. How much does anyone really need a $200,000 car? And all this does, it's just a fancy toy for the rich, and all it does is emit CO2 in the atmosphere.
He gets obscene amounts of attention. Like, everybody thinks you're a celebrity.
And from what I've seen so far, it's all positive.
It's all positive.
When we were in the Ferrari, my guy was doing this.
Yeah, there were just people that think that assume you're
reviewing it, man.
There's people that assume you're a douche.
Yeah.
I guess driving a Ferrari, and I think a Lambo is kind of the same way. People just think you're a tool.
Yeah.
You're driving one, but a McLaren maybe is different.
It might be a little bit different.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was just a test.
He's just laughing. Look at it. Like, the guy just put a bunch of CO2 in the atmosphere, and for what? So they can go fast and have fun?
I felt it was ready to like really take off there.
You can hear the turbos
Yeah, it was spooling
spool up, and then okay, that's gonna be fun. Yeah.
All I hear is the planet being destroyed, you guys.
Excited. Welcome to the show.
Oh my God.
You feel yourself, it's very linear. You're pulling more and more into the back of your seat. You're not like thrown back, which I really like.
It doesn't really. It's not violent. It doesn't
No.
just like hurly like the Tesla.
You know what I feel? I feel the sea levels rising and destroying the island of Majuro, which Second Thought talked about in a in his climate change video.
I recently visited Majuro in the Marshall Islands as part of a documentary crew. We saw homes literally being consumed by the sea. Islands and coastal regions are going underwater, and this is only one of the side effects of climate change. Okay, I hope we're on the same page here.
Yeah, hope we're on the same page here. Now, I guess someone called him on this because they announced in this fancy video that, hey, me and my buddy, we're starting a new YouTube channel where we drive fun cars. Someone in the comment section said, the fuck? After so many vids about climate change, you're going to upload a video about supercars? Am I the only one who sees the hypocrisy? Second Thought says, don't be ignorant. The 6 biggest cruise ships, 6, produce more emissions than every other car on the road. Focus your anger where it counts. Yeah, guys, stop looking behind this curtain, okay? I mean, yeah, he's having fun, driving around, having the time of his life, getting paid to drive around in these gas guzzlers. But pay no attention because people might be having fun on a cruise ship somewhere, and that's producing more emissions.
That acceleration just goes like boom, and just throws you back.
Which is cool in its own way.
Yeah.
But I think
it's a very different type of acceleration.
Yeah.
It just is like, it's gradual, but it never stops.
Yeah.
It just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling, and it's the same amount of pull the entire way.
I really, really like that.
He really likes destroying the planet. And wealth inequality.
This is one of the prettiest. This is the prettiest car we've had on the show.
The prettiest
car.
Really,
I think hands
prettiest.
down.
This guy thinks wealth inequality is pretty. Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
What's prettier than this?
The Ferrari 488.
False.
I think
You're
so.
wrong to hate you.
No.
This car is just so aggressive and striking.
Yeah.
It's got vents in all the right places. There's
Yeah.
like nice carbon fiber bits. And it's not ugly red.
It does have all that, but the Ferrari's just pretty.
No. I mean, the Ferrari's not a bad looking
This
car.
is aggressive, but the Ferrari is like an art piece. I think it's like a sculpture.
I would have said that like
Also drove a Ferrari.
8 years ago, I think. But I think that car looks dated now, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I think this looks much more modern. It's
Look at parked in that nice house. Where's that at?
slicker. Like you said earlier, this feels like a spaceship. It looks like a spaceship.
Yeah, it
and a
does.
Ferrari just looks like a Ferrari.
That's what I was gonna say. This is like a spaceship. The Ferrari is like an art piece, like a
Yeah,
masterpiece.
commies in cars. Driving to each other's mansions.
I think.
Probably driving to hang out with Hassan Piker at his $3 million home in West Hollywood.
Like a Raphael painting.
If you put this next to a Ferrari in a parking lot, I think more people would come up to this.
Yeah, and they don't be lame.
They're going to talk about saving the world. They're going to save the world from climate change. Woo!
Beware the cop.
Where's the cop?
He's up there ahead of us in this lane.
Yeah, I see him.
Got my cop eyes on.
They never speed, so I mean.
No, I mean, they have no reason to pull us
They
over.
never have any reason to be pulled over.
But this is the type of car that they.
All right, Tizzy saying, to be fair, 2.7 million mini mansion is basically a shack. No, I looked at pictures of his house. It's not a shack. I think it was like a 5-bedroom house. Get the fuck out of here.
Would pull you over.
Yeah, 500.
Or maybe you're just joking. It doesn't even have an infinity pool. Maybe you're joking. Maybe it just went over my head.
70 metric horsepower in a twin turbo V8. It's fast. This goes 0 to 60
And if it did go over my head,
in in 2.9 seconds.
I knew that because of Tyler, the Creator song.
That's right.
So we were in third that whole time, I believe.
The whole time.
That's a
And they got
nice
all those
third.
up to the 8,000.
Yeah, I apologize. That joke went over my head. But I've seen people on the internet make that point unironically. Well, but 2.7 million barely gets middle class in California.
Blow it out your ass.
I wonder why the fuck that is. Could it be your guys' government intervention policies?
Brand new, the 570S is, I believe it's around $220,000.
$220,000? $220,000? And for what? They think this car is cool? And all this money probably just went to enrich some greedy corporation in England? I mean, how many workers at the McLaren plant had their labor values stolen to make this car so that a communist like Second Thought could go for a joyride to entertain his audience on YouTube?
However, the 570S came out in 2016,
Yeah.
and there are models of this on AutoTrader and CarGurus for as low as
And as I mentioned earlier, I mean, does anybody really need... I mean, they mentioned earlier that, you know, this car is more expensive than most people's houses. Does anybody really need a fast supercar like the McLaren 570S when so many people can barely afford rent? As mentioned in Second Thought's other videos about how horrible capitalism is. Does anybody really need do rich people really need to drive fun, fancy, expensive cars like the Ferrari when there are so many people that cannot even afford health insurance?
But at the point that it is right now, for $130,000,
Yeah, you hear that. The car, soon after you buy it, the value falls off a cliff. So it's the greedy corporations. They get all the money up front. They're really taking advantage of you by selling you these expensive cars. So what? You can stuff the pockets of some corporate automobile executive?
I mean,
that's Nissan GTR territory.
yeah, I mean, new Nissan GTR.
Yeah, of course, new Nissan GTR
While children go hungry in this world? What a disgrace.
territory, but still, would you get
Yeah.
a brand new Nissan GTR or a used McLaren 570S?
I'd probably get the McLaren.
I think, yeah.
Not having driven the GTR, I would get the McLaren, I think. But we'll see if that is the case, because the Ferrari I really disliked because of some of its supercar quirks.
You really dislike the Ferrari, you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get the sense that this is going to do some of the same stuff. We live in Texas. Today it's like 85 degrees outside, so pretty
It's
warm.
warm.
I'm boiling in
I'm
here.
too. I'm sweating so much. The AC is not super ideal. And funny enough, okay, so the track spec versions of these, like the LT models,
Yeah.
you can actually delete the air conditioning in the cars to save weight.
I mean, yeah, good for a track day, but man, if you're going to buy this car and live in Texas, you got to have the air
Or just
conditioning.
anywhere in the South.
You gotta have Texas. You have to have air conditioning in Texas. What about in your homes? How do you power your air conditioning in your homes without energy like fossil fuels?
Really makes you think.
Air conditioning, in fact, saves you from climate-related hazards like extreme heat. But apparently, getting rid of property rights is gonna prevent you from dying of heat stroke. You don't have electricity to power your air conditioning units.
Yeah.
And you could probably fit, like, I don't know, a couple backpacks in there.
That's useful. I mean, this is not a road trip car, so you're not going
No.
to need to haul much.
Not a road trip car.
All right, what do you think about
Mostly for having fun, not even for much practical use.
visibility?
It's a little butts.
It's not super good.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
I've been in supercars that are worse, like the Lotus Evora.
Yeah.
For example, definitely has worse visibility than this does.
I would say so too, yes.
One thing I will say about the paddle shifters, though, that I don't like is they are attached to the wheel and not the steering column.
They are. Which means they go around with the wheel, so your hands are going to be in weird
Which I
positions.
don't like, because in Ferraris and in Lamborghinis, they are on the steering column.
Yep.
Like the Ferrari we drove, it was on the steering column, so you turn the wheel and the paddles were still in place.
That would be my
They
first
hit
knock.
easily. That is a knock that I have against this,
Yep.
because I don't like that.
Yeah.
What else we talk about?
Okay, one
Look how well produced this is. Like, they have like exterior shots of the car driving around these neighborhoods.
thing to get out of the way, gas mileage.
I have no idea. Who cares?
Gas mileage. Oh, that's a good question. How much gas mileage? How much gasoline does this vehicle guzzle just so that some rich people can have some fun? Rich people like Second Thought.
Who cares? I don't even know what it is. I didn't even look it up.
It's 16 and 23. No one cares. But
Oh my God.
Just so you know.
It's like what, half of a Prius?
just so you know.
It's 16 and 23.
All right, big brain time. Would you get this or a Lamborghini Urus?
Would you get this or a Lamborghini?
This. Definitely.
Get this gas guzzling machine
This over an Urus.
Yeah.
What do you
that
think?
you pretty much drive to look cool and have fun in. Does anyone really need to look cool and have fun?
Because I know you were like such a fan.
I love the Urus because it's just practical enough where you can be like,
It's just like,
yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, so the Urus is pretty much as fast as this. So
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. This 0 to 62.9 seconds. Urus is like 3.3.
Yeah.
So like not that much difference. But the Urus you can fit like 4 people
That's
in
the thing.
it.
I want to go out and have fun with my friends or my dogs, you know.
He wants to go out and have fun with his friends. What about the Earth, huh?
For your dog and your friends,
Yeah.
and you get still the engine noise as well as all the crazy.
He wants to have fun with his friends at what cost? So that we can destroy the planet?
Your
And
stuff.
people are more prone to like laugh at it because it's absurd versus this. We're like, ugh, that guy.
It's about the same price brand new as this.
Yeah.
I think the Ferrari 488 is better than the 570.
If you gave me the money to buy a Ferrari,
Yeah, that's the thing.
I would buy this and then a bunch of other stuff.
You could
If he had the money to buy a Ferrari, he wouldn't help out the less fortunate. He wouldn't help out the Americans who are struggling under this brutal, oppressive capitalist system that can barely afford their medical bills, barely afford rent because the 1% took all of the money from them. No, if he had the Ferrari money, he would still buy a nice fancy car and then buy a bunch of other stuff so that him and a bunch of his friends can have fun as the planet gets destroyed by fossil fuels.
buy this for so much less.
Yeah.
Something, by the way, he always throws, people like Second Thought, they often throw fossil fuel companies under the bus for CO2 emissions. And when you think about it, gasoline companies like Shell and ExxonMobil, they're not the ones putting the CO2 in the atmosphere. It's actually drivers of cars that put it in the atmosphere because they just sell you that gasoline in liquid form. It doesn't go in the atmosphere until you put it in a car and then burn it and then send it into the atmosphere. So who is really more responsible for climate change? Fossil fuel companies that just give you the fuel and gas in liquid form? Or people like Second Thought who selfishly buy these gas-guzzling supercars and then burn the fossil fuels in the cars so that him and his friends can drive around and have fun.
Yeah, and have, to me, just as much fun.
Yeah.
Probably more, because I didn't have that much fun in the Ferrari, honestly.
Yeah. So again, it's totally fine. If Second Thought and his commie friends, his comrades, they want to have fun by driving these gas guzzlers, that's totally fine. But if someone wants to have fun and they want to take their family on a nice cruise for fun, join thousands of other people to go on a nice cruise, then that's horrible. They're the ones really destroying the planet, you guys.
Of any cars we've ever done.
That's a good high score.
Man, look at all these fancy cars they've driven. Lamborghini, McLaren, Rolls-Royce.
All right, gang. Well, thank you for watching. If this is your first time stopping by, we hope you enjoyed the episode. I think it's a pretty good one.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Tell Joe he's wrong in the comments.
Tell JT that he's always wrong and he's never right about anything ever in life. Ouch.
Well, I often tell Second Thought he's wrong.
I'm just kidding.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
See
Bye.
ya. Bye.
All right, so that's Grand Theft Auto. If you want to watch a communist goof drive around in fancy cars when he's not lecturing everyone about the dangers of climate change and wealth inequality, then check out Grand Theft Auto, folks.